to listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 204 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. It's a bonus show. It's Thursday bonus show. I wish there was a double T word I could use for that, but we'll just stick with bonus show Thursday. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all are having a fantastic week. I'm pumped. I'm excited. I'm not going to waste any time. Let's get tonight's guest on the line, making his 17th appearance on the Lap Traffic Podcast. He is one half of them Georgia boys, but now a Carolina boy from the PETM Studios North. It's Andrew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
Skew.
Oh,
Yep.
What's going on, man?
Well, I don't know if I'll ever officially call myself a North Carolina boy. Now, Georgia's home,
right?
Mom, that's where mom and dad are.
Right,
so,
that's home,
and they ain't moving.
Man, you know, one thing that I got excited about for a minute when we had figured out we were going to do this was like, oh, sweet, I get to play the awesome mashup with Lap Traffic and PETM Sydney Lett. But then I remembered I couldn't do that. So,
hey, you know what? While you're on that, and before I forget, today is her birthday.
Oh, no kidding. Well, happy birthday,
Everybody
Sydney.
that listens to this, go ahead and wish Sydney Lett a happy birthday, even
Absolutely.
if you get it tomorrow. People
Yes.
like belated birthday wishes.
For sure. All right. Well, listen, before we get rolling, let's do some shameless plugs. If you haven't checked out Lap Traffic Show on Tuesday, make sure you go check that out. Karen Grant from NASCAR's Diversity and Inclusion Department was on, which was awesome. A very unique interview that I did on Tuesday night with all the usual stuff jam-packed in there, a stacked Lucky Dog segment and all that good stuff. So go check that out. Sherwin, what'd you guys have going on earlier this week?
So we had a guy that reached out to me from a news outlet in Atlanta called the ATL Sports Wire, and his name's Jackson Freiberger. He's more than a one-man show. He just got media credentials for all of the Zoom interviews for this weekend, so he really is trying to make NASCAR a bigger part of his website. And he's mostly a Atlanta Professional Sports and Georgia Bulldogs guy.
Cool.
Which you're gonna run into that when you live in Georgia.
Yeah,
Most
that'll
of them's
happen,
Georgia
right? That'll happen.
Yeah, I think we know some other states that are similar to that.
Yeah, that'll happen. Well, speaking of that, I mean, you guys have had some college football. We're just getting our college football kicking off here. Shit, I think it's still a week or two because I know game 2 is Michigan State on Halloween, and we're planning on having a little shindig for that outside, weather permitted. So I can't wait for college football in the Big Ten to kick off here in a couple weeks.
That's pretty cool. I mean, we basically started the season kind of almost on time, not in the same way it was supposed to be played because they did that 10 games against your conference, one non-conference game that was already in your contract.
Yeah.
So that's why we got our arses beat by UCF. It's been a little rough. We got a redshirt freshman playing quarterback, so I let him take his lumps in 2020 when all the rest of us are taking lumps too.
Sure, absolutely. Well, listen, man. So, are you all acclimated back to work life and all that good stuff? Like, how's that? How'd the move go? Was the move smooth and all that kind of good stuff?
The move was fine. I'm really bad about. You wouldn't believe the number of boxes, and I have a mountain of all that paper stuff they wrap your crap in.
Yep.
Because this was a white glove deal.
Okay.
So they pack everything.
Yeah. Yep.
But they don't unpack it.
Right.
They just reassemble your furniture and stuff. So I've got more cardboard than a cardboard like production facility.
Sell some of that off to Amazon or something.
Yeah, and then it's then that you realize that you had a spare bedroom, that you had the entire closet filled with clothes that you haven't worn in 10 years.
Sure. Yep.
And I was like, I'm not throwing them away because I was losing weight. I was like, I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there.
Yes.
And so now I'm like, what is with all these clothes? Like, I'm gonna have 2 closets full again.
Right.
Is what it's amounting to. But yeah, it's been okay. I mean, Mooresville is a cool place, but it's another one of those places where you have to sneakily study the traffic. because while everybody, from NASCAR, the NASCAR world, the professional NASCAR world, bitches about I-77.
Yeah.
But I don't ever have to drive in that section that they do. Like, where if you live in Cornelius or Huntersville, where a lot of those folks live, or Mooresville for that matter, there's a stretch there that's pretty rough, backs up pretty quick. But for here in Mooresville proper, it's the surface streets that are just, it's madness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I went to go watch a football game not last weekend, but the one before. I was like, yeah, I'll just bebop on down to Buffalo Wild Wings. And because I didn't have my internet set up yet, so I couldn't do the YouTube TV thing. And it took me 25 minutes to go 3 miles.
Wow.
I was like, I remember what this used to be like when I lived in Atlanta and didn't study traffic patterns.
Yeah.
It's the same as that.
That's crazy.
But it was on surface streets with 900 million stoplights that aren't long enough or too long.
That's nuts. Well, I remember, a couple weeks ago, Lindsay and I, for our anniversary with another couple that got married the day before us that we know real well, we went downtown for dinner early on a Friday, like literally like right after work. And you speak about weather or traffic patterns, and I'm just like, dude, what the hell? Like, I haven't been on I-75 South to go into the city on a Friday, like, in a long time. And I was just so, I wasn't frazzled, but it's like working at home for, 2 years basically straight. Like, you forget what, like, normal people, not normal people, but those that aren't fortunate to work from home have to deal with still. And I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, no doubt. I spent the last 5 at home, so yeah. I get it.
Listen, what's going on upstairs, man? Like,
oh, dude, I don't even. I really want, as much as I don't want any stranger in my apartment. I want to figure out which one is the one that's got tungsten in their feet, and I want the other one to come downstairs and listen. I'm talking about I can't make as much noise as what I hear. Like, I mean, unless, tomorrow night, I'll probably have the TV cranked up pretty good.
Right.
Test the subwoofer out, see, a little early so that, not 2:00 in the morning watching some smash 'em up movie.
Right.
But I mean, I got it turned down to like a half gain, and it goes to 11.
Yep.
So
nice.
But I can't believe it. I can just remember my dad harping about my mom because she was a heel walker.
Okay.
And he was a light sleeper. She'd get up before him. She'd go bang around the kitchen, even a floor apart, and we would wake him up, and he'd get pissed. And I'm like, I can't imagine what my dad be saying right now. Here, I mean, it's like they forcefully push down when they walk.
That's
either
crazy.
That or there is a New Zealand versus Australia rugby match going on up there every day.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. All right. Well, sir, so we're setting up to do a little talk here about the 2021 NASCAR schedule. But I think that we would be remiss not to acknowledge some silly season stuff that has gone down between our shows Tuesday and within the last 10 minutes of this, to the point of where intern Dan text, Andrew Cancian text us. So we'll start with the big news that just broke. Clint Boyer out at SHR.
And retired at that.
And retired. I mean, I don't know if I'm surprised or not. I kind of figured it was either going to be an end of the season announcement, or the announcement at the end of the season was going to be, all right, one more year and I'm out. It's a bummer. Like, Clint Boyer, man, I feel bad for him because he's one of the coolest dudes. Everybody loves listening to him on the radio. Everybody loves listening to him when he's in the booth. Great guy, great character. Went on a little heat stretch there with some wins back at the old NWR days. But, man, ever since that, like, just never really could get that mojo back.
Yeah, I hate it for him. I wanted to see him get to 10 wins. That felt like the right milestone for him.
Sure.
The question I would have is, does he just go straight to being full-time color in the Xfinity Series, which everybody would. So everybody that has gone to television after being a racer has a podcast.
Yeah.
So they got to figure out how to make Clint do that.
Yes.
And it's obviously it's going to require some help because Clint's not going to set that up on his own. Right. He's going to need the full backing of whatever NBC does for Steve, and obviously now with Junior, even though Junior's had his podcast for a long time now, it's on television. That's how good he is.
Right.
Yeah. Like actual real television. So yeah, I mean, I am bummed that he didn't probably reach where he thought he could reach to.
Sure. Yeah.
But having him on the call for Xfinity races and just him, look, there's a butterfly right there in the middle of the race. I love that stuff. I mean, that cracks me up.
Yes. Oh, he's so good. I mean, he was made for it. So it's not like he's leaving the sport. He ain't going anywhere. He just ain't going to be strapped into that 14 next year. So
right. And I hope he goes a little bit more, sorry to cut you off, a little bit more of the route where Junior does, where he's not necessarily just doing the show to promote the fact that he works for NBC.
Sure.
I want to see the Clint that we sometimes hear stories about.
Right. The unedited Clint Boyer.
And it doesn't have to be the F word every third word.
No, just because the stories.
But just, I mean, all right, Clint, tell us about that time that y'all damn near burnt down Dale Jr.'s Western town, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who woke up in the weirdest place in Dale Jr.'s saloon?
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That'd be great. Clint Boyer After Dark or something like that. Yes.
Yeah. Some kind of that.
All about that for sure. Yes. I wonder, wouldn't it be cool if maybe he did like a couple one-off Xfinity races or something like that? At least that might be cool.
Well, and not to dive too much deeper into the part of the show sheet that we're writing ad lib.
Yep.
But that this is, to me, says it's pretty obvious they're going to promote Briscoe, which means that 98 car is going to need somebody that's already in the Ford camp. And I don't know who the young person that you would put in there is. With Collick performing so well, I'd say they're probably going to be able to keep Justin Haley.
Yeah.
Until he makes it to Cup.
Yep.
And he's a Chevy guy anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would make sense for them to part out that ride for next year, and use it like Junior uses his 8 car in the Xfinity Series.
For sure. I'm with you. And then news earlier today breaking about Matt DiBenedetto. I went on a little rant about this on the show on Tuesday. To me, it just made sense. I went as far as saying, acted like I knew something and saying the numbers just make too much sense that Matt DiBenedetto is going to be back in the 21. When you look at what Paul Menard did 2 years in that car, Matt DiBenedetto has outperformed top 10s and top 5s in less than one full year than Paul Menard did in 2 years. And the team isn't hurting for sponsorship money. So it only made sense that Matt DiBenedetto was getting re-signed to the 21.
Well, I think it was a really feel-good story when Trevor Bayne won in that car.
Yes.
And then it didn't really do anything for him beyond got him some new attention. They still couldn't afford to go full-time racing. And then Penske shows up with Blaney and says, let's put something together.
Yep.
And that got the 21 back on the real map, like race contender map, potential playoff contender map, that sort of map.
Yep.
And then you're right, the pace dropped off a little bit with Menard, but then it picked right back up with DiBenedetto.
Yep.
And it's a playoff contending car. Yeah. So it made a lot more sense to leave Matt in it, knowing full well that this car's a deadbeat car.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
It's obsolete as soon as we get to Phoenix next year. And why would you teach Austin how to race this car knowing that everything's different the year after that?
Yep.
It just doesn't make any sense. He already knows what the Xfinity car does. And they're not changing that car anytime soon. So go out there and win your 9 races again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then come to the big show.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, like Chase Briscoe coming up, I think it's going to be a battle between Briscoe and Cindric. this year. Let's say Cindric doesn't get it. I'm not going to say he would get it handed to him next year if he were to stay in Xfinity, but the odds sure as hell got a lot bigger. Well,
and you can't rule out that Tony Stewart and Gene Haas, probably mostly Tony, and Zipadelli are probably thinking some of the same thoughts about Briscoe. Like, well, we know what we got in Xfinity.
Yeah.
Do we really, and we also know that Clint's car is super parted out with, Haas and Tony's buddies and stuff. That car is a different color every week.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a reason for that, because the money commitment's not there. So I just don't know if it makes sense to move Briscoe for the exact same reasons that it makes sense to keep Matt in the 21.
Sure.
Why learn 2 cars in 2 years? You could really actually hurt yourself that way.
Absolutely. I'm with you. It's funny you say that about Clint's car. I remember that a couple years ago, one of the last few years, AJ Allmendinger was in the 47. It literally, I think they had like 16 different primary sponsors one year or something like that. It was nuts.
So did you hear the business story behind that? Why that business model works so well for them?
I do not recall.
So what happened was Kroger came to them and said, we really like the way you approach this. And maybe in not so many words said, we want to approach this in a real similar but slightly different way that Target used to approach their marketing campaigns, where a lot of times it was the Target brand.
Sure.
But a lot of times it was one of their major partner suppliers. And that's what Kroger did. They said, here's what we're going to do. We've got a handful of these companies that we're committed to always having their stuff in stock. And what we want you to do is just put a different company on every time. Everybody's going to know you're Kroger because Kroger's going to be on the quarter panel.
Sure.
But the hood is going to be one of those partners. Clorox is the one that sticks in my head.
Yep.
Bush's Beans for a while.
Yeah, Clorox. Yep, for sure.
So that was why it was attractive to them, because Kroger could then, when they went to 2 cars, they could run an all Kroger car on either one of them, and then one or the other was going to be running an associate brand.
Cool. That's that actually makes a hell of a lot of sense now that you put it out like there.
So it does change a lot. It makes you think they're really parting and piecing out sponsorship, but they're not. Kroger's paying for all of it.
Right. It's an extra incentive to do business with Kroger from that regard, because you're getting national exposure in a premier sport on national TV. So
yeah, especially when you think about Kroger being headquartered in Ohio, you got a big swath of the country pretty well covered up with Kroger stores.
Yeah.
Now they don't, not here in North Carolina. There's too many North Carolina stores that are dominating here, but you can't throw a rock anywhere from where I lived in Alpharetta and not hit a Kroger.
Sure. All right. Well, let's segue over to the main reason why we're here tonight. Thanks to our good buddy Andrew Kansian, we are here. So you're not going to go through the schedule, what we like, what we didn't like. We'll go track by track, race by race. I think some will get some additional commentary versus others, but we'll just roll with it. And towards the end of this shindig, we'll get Aaron Studwell on the line to give some commentary as well, and all that good stuff, man. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's start on Valentine's Day, Sunday, February 14th, Daytona International Speedway. To that, I say, duh.
I tell you what, there's going to have to be, you NASCAR junkies that just absolutely refuse to not watch the Daytona 500 live, which is me, including when they last till 2:30 in the morning. You're going to have to start planning now, so that, I think anybody with half a brain doesn't celebrate Valentine's Day outside of their home on the 14th. That's just dumb.
Yes.
You want to go have a big old nice meal. Do it on Monday,
right?
The day after Valentine's Day.
I tell you, the only people that need to be going out on February 14th are 18 to 24-year-olds trying to get laid. Let's call the ace a spade there.
Yeah, that's just it. Like if you were courting a woman,
yes,
albeit just for pleasurable reasons or because you were looking to start a family.
Yes.
Yep. You pretty much have to.
Yeah. Yep.
And that age range, you're not creative enough to figure out. Wait a minute. If I just go do this on the Thursday before or the Monday after, I can double the value that I have to spend on this date.
Right. Yes. Yep.
And we won't be waiting in line for it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you were going to the Outback, but now you're going to go to Ted's Montana.
Right. Yes. No, I'm all about it. I love it. I know Lindsay could give a rat's ass, so we're all good there. Now, let's move to race number 2, something that I'm very excited about. Curious to see how it pans out from a fan perspective, provided that, things are somewhat back to normal from a fan allowance perspective. Back-to-back race weekends in Florida. Homestead going to race number 2. And I tell you what, I felt bad for Homestead. They go from championship weekend all these years to being thrown into the middle of the spring season this year, canceled due to COVID. Now the second race of the year next year. I like that. I think that's a good spot for Homestead.
I think it's great for logistics reasons, and I think that's why we're seeing this. It's also a great time of year to be in Miami. And I think there's probably some Tampa, Orlando, DeLand area residents that are thinking, oh, boy, I'm going to go to 2 races in a row.
Yes.
Because they're both about 3 hours apart from that area of Florida where so many people live. Actually, I think Daytona's a little closer, but still, it's not a far drive to Homestead from that area.
No.
So I think the concern by some people that want to drift into the negative tales of the conversation is that you will oversaturate Florida. And it might be – I just don't see that happening because the race itself is always a really good race.
Yes. No, I'm with you there.
Yeah. Are they running that on a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon? Do we know yet?
Well, it's the 21st and Sunday the 14th for Daytona, so it's a Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other good thing is you're running on a Sunday. You could probably start it at 3:00 and it's still finishing under the lights.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, because we're before daylight saving times and all that. The only thing that I think would make it even cooler, which I obviously wouldn't want them to make Homestead the first race of the year, but from from a fans traveling perspective, like with your RVs and campers, like if you started in Homestead, assuming everybody was going north to their home state, like Homestead, all right, then Daytona, and then back home to wherever you're at up north somewhere. But
there is the perfect vacation in there somewhere, no matter which order you run those in, because in the middle between the 2 weekends, you can go to Disney.
That's what I was thinking there. Yeah, for sure.
Universal Studios. Now that turns into very expensive 10-day vacation,
sure.
But
yeah,
it could be the coolest vacation you ever took in your life.
Right. And with people being cooped up for a year, if that green flag's given there, hell yeah, man. I'd be all about that for sure.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Races 3, 4, and 5. We got our West Coast swing out to Auto Club Las Vegas and Phoenix. No real surprise there or anything like that. I think the bigger story here is the future next year's 2022's Auto Club reconfiguration.
So there's that, which is a known entity. And I don't know how anybody could listen to either one of our podcasts and not have heard this, but for anybody that might be brand new to this, Auto Club is reconfiguring from a 2-mile to the strangest combination of Bristol and Martinsville with a D-shaped front stretch.
Yep.
Like a curved front stretch. So basically the front stretch is the only thing that's sticking around.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be very good. So Martinsville's banked 12 degrees. Bristol, depending on who you ask and who actually knows, is somewhere between 24 and 27 degrees.
27, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the existing banking at California is 14, I want to say, but they're going to tear the corners down anyway because they have to. So the only thing I'd like to see them do different, and this is what we don't know, the unknown part, is I'd like for Sonoma to be a part of the West Coast swing, because Napa Valley, Vallejo area is so much prettier in the spring.
Sure.
And my dad said you could set your watch by what day it was going to stop raining, and then reset it again once everything was brown.
Wow.
A month later.
That's crazy.
Because in late March, early April, that place is as green as any golf course you've ever seen.
That would be cool. Could you imagine a month straight out on the West Coast? I don't know if you're already out there 3. What's one more?
I guess the only pushback I could think of would be that the road course car is so wildly different.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe with the 2022 car, that changes a little bit. Maybe you could run Phoenix and just change your front end geometry and run the same car at Sonoma.
That'd be sweet, man. That'd be really cool. Because it feels like we're over, it feels like the mid to back half of the schedule is so heavy with road courses. Like it'd be nice to get one up there in, the first 10 races or so.
I think so. Especially, you already know Phoenix is going to get, the West Coast is going to get another race.
Yes.
They're going to get the championship race. That's like, isn't that deal for like 3 years, they said?
I do believe. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So they're not going to change that until after 2022, if they change it at all. And actually, I kind of expect they will.
I think so. Why not?
How about a last race at Bristol? Holy smokes!
Man, I want Darlington.
Or that would be anything that makes it traditional.
Atlanta, that would be sweet.
It was the last race of the season for like 18 years.
Yeah, that was right. Then they switched to Homestead, right? Or there was something else for a couple years, maybe in between that mix there. But
no, it went straight to 2001, I believe, is when it went to Homestead. But the problem was Homestead was still that miniature version of Indianapolis, and it just didn't work.
Yep.
It was not good. And then they put in progressive banking, and that was not good. Or maybe there was something in between what they have. I think now they have progressive banking.
It's been reconfigured like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it's and then they got it right.
Yeah, right.
Like it's right now.
Yes. Yep.
It's the closest thing we have on the mile and a half perspective to what Atlanta used to be. And we've already heard that what Atlanta used to be might be in the cards.
Yes. Well, all right. So, perfect segue. Race number 6, March 21st, Atlanta Motor Speedway. The first of 2 Atlanta races. You guys used to have 2. And I tell you what, Atlanta deserved a second race, in my opinion. I'm glad to see that you guys got a second race back. I'd love to see a night race for the second one, to be honest, because if that's the case, old Brandon Crowd's coming down to Atlanta to hang out with the PETM boys. But man, I know you guys hashed it out. Well, you guys talked a lot about Atlanta on your show this week. So just give a quick recap of what could be coming with Atlanta with a infrastructure build around it as well.
Yeah, we didn't. So we were totally shocked by this because the initial announcement of the potential Kansas treatment, the casino and all the toys and the roller coasters and yada, 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 didn't seem to hit that hard for people because right around the same time is when the Georgia government denied Hard Rock their whatever permission you need to build a casino. It was going to be downtown. And so that's kind of when, Bruton Smith and his band of merry people came forward with their idea of building a multiply faceted entertainment complex that didn't necessarily have anything to do with racing.
Yep.
This second date has all the feels that is starting to pick back up in terms of momentum, that Georgia is going to allow a sports book. Like we basically, the way Atlanta is talking now is we're going to have a sports book.
Yep.
It's just a matter of where it's going to be.
Okay.
And if Atlanta Motor Speedway could be first to the buffet table there.
Excellent. Yeah, ours have been open. Ours have been going good. Our big thing now, at least me, I'm chomping at the bit because I want to go place a bet. I got to go drive 20 minutes downtown and physically do it in person at one of our 3 casinos. Supposedly, by the end of the year, we're supposed to be able to do it online legally through one of the 3 casinos. So, oh, man, it's If you like, if you like to throw $20 on something to make because the Lions are going to be abysmal, so you want to bet and play around with that for $20 to keep your attention for 3.5 hours. I'm all about that. I love every second of it.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. Georgia's been a slow adopter to all of the what I'll call progressive ideals. Casinos are the lottery is the devil. Well, what if we give all the money to kids for computers and going to college? Oh, that sounds like a good idea. So they did that. And then like 20 years later, hey, this Keno thing really it's not that bad. Why don't we do Keno? So we're inching along.
There you go.
I think we've had Keno for maybe about 8 or 9 years.
Okay. We've had it in the bars for a few years now too up here, which is pretty cool.
First time I ever saw it was in a bar in Rothbury, Michigan.
That's awesome.
The Rothbury Tavern. And true to every Midwestern town, Rothbury was the right size town because they had a gas station, a bank, 3 churches, and a bar. And they were all walking distance from each other.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, we'll come back to Atlanta because last I heard, there's 2 of them, as old Ron White would say. There's another one coming around.
Oh, just real quick.
Yes.
There's only one thing more I wanted to say.
Yeah.
When NASCAR said they were going to reorganize the schedule, I said to Rusty, if we only get one race, it needs to be in June at night. And now we have the date.
Yes.
We just got to find out if it's at night.
Right. Yes. All right. So we'll circle back to Atlanta here in a little bit. Next up, race number 7, Bristol. Let's talk Bristol, and then we're going to hit pause for a second because old Brandon needs a refill here. So Bristol, race number 7. Dirt race. I got to go on a little rant here, and you feel free to chime in here. They're going to run a dirt race at Bristol. They're running a package. You should run a package, in my opinion, that doesn't force you to have to gimmick up a race. You want to gimmick up a truck race to draw a little bit more eyes on the TV or butts in the seats, great. And I don't say that to disparage the truck series at all. I love trucks. Sherwin, I know you love trucks. We all love trucks. But I feel you have a little bit more flexibility there because you don't have the big money contract sponsors, etc. I've said for years, using the WWE, WWF analogy, a ladder or cage match is great if you don't overuse it and you've got the right build and storyline to justify it. In my opinion, there is no build to a dirt race. There's no storyline. There's no need to run Cup on dirt at one of fans' favorite places to watch and go to. You can't fill the stands there. That isn't because you don't have dirt on the track. It's because you aren't running a package that delivers a good race. The solution isn't dirt. Now, that's not to say I'm not going to be dialed up to watch and be in front of the TV for it, because it's going to be a spectacle. That is for sure. I just don't think that's needed, nor something you should be turning to salvage a particular race.
I agree with you 100% on that. So let's have a drink, and then I got more.
Cheers. Go ahead.
I just don't. So while trying to maintain the most open eyes as I can, or be as most open eyed, because I was that fan that loved Talladega and Daytona when I first saw it.
Sure.
Because I just didn't know much about racing, and then whoa, what is this? And I wouldn't watch the road courses. I'm like, what is this nonsense? NASCAR runs ovals and turns left.
Yep.
Or turns right to go left, as I learned later in my fandom career. But now, I found myself clamoring for more road courses probably 10 years ago. We have that now. I don't know what was broken if it's not the car. And really, the last couple Bristol races they've been pretty damn good.
They've been good, yeah. If you take out the All-Star race, yeah, the last couple Bristol races have been really good.
Yeah, they legit had 2 grooves. It was a little bit more difficult to pass on the bottom, but it was still there. I think Bristol of all places is suited to an open motor.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and if they're going to run it on dirt, which they already said they were, which means it's written in stone at this point, they need to be running a similar horsepower package as the 410s. And now I guess they would say, well, it should be the 360s because NASCAR runs 360s. Okay, whatever. It needs to be close to 1,000 horsepower.
Right.
Because what you know this because we went to Eldora together.
Yes.
The slowest cars on that track that week, I guess I was going to say weekend, but it was midweek. The slowest cars were the trucks, like by a bunch.
Yes.
And I think as much as there's a whole crowd of dirt people that might show up that never been to a NASCAR race before because Bristol and dirt and whatever, Cup, the biggest, highest paid series, yada, yada, yada. I don't really understand why Cup needs to do that.
Right. I'm with you. And I get, the ideal thing maybe, I hate that you're going to, I'm going to say you're not going to damage the track or anything like that, but you're going to go through all this at Bristol that's already great as it is. You obviously can't go do it at Eldora because Eldora doesn't have a pit road. You're not going to freeze the field with every caution for a Cup race to go run Eldora. I just don't think you need a dirt, and I tell you what, you guys talked about what Richard Petty's comments were on your show on Tuesday, and I had missed that. I didn't see that. That was the first I had heard that. And I don't disagree with King at all there. I mean, it's you're maybe dumbing down the sport for a payday is what I think it's boiling down to.
And I don't even know if it will be a payday because, the second part of what I was going to say about you might attract a new dirt crowd that you hadn't had before. The only problem is, the Southeast is a little bit weird about dirt. There's a lot of it, but it's not the same thing as it is in the Midwest.
Sure. Well,
in
and
terms
people,
of,
and people that are going to a dirt race are planning on going for, bringing a family of 4 or 5 at a $10 admission a piece and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what a Bristol ticket runs, but I'm imagining they're not getting in that cheap. Which to try to attract the dirt fan that just likes that casual Friday night race with $2 beers and a burger, is. Are you going to be able to draw at a Cup ticket that dirt fan to the track?
Well, I could tell you this. We don't buy the most expensive tickets, but we don't buy the cheapest ones either.
Sure.
And it cost us $177 a piece to go to the Xfinity race and the Cup race.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a $77 ticket to the Xfinity race and a $100 ticket to the Cup race.
That's,
And you're in when we're allowed to all go the last couple of years, it's you and about 30,000 of your friends in a 165,000 seat stadium for that Xfinity race, which is a bummer because I have been to one where there was easily 100,000 people there.
Yep.
And things change. But the other thing I was going to clump with the dirt thing, maybe potentially bringing in some new folks, is you are going to royally piss off the old guard Bristol fan that watches 22-second lap times at Bristol and goes, what in the hell?
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be looking at close to 28, 29 and a half seconds,
After the last qualifying we had, it was not the first time that we had broken into the 14-second barrier.
Yeah.
But it was the first time like 10 cars were in the 14-second bracket in qualifying.
Yeah. When I started watching Bristol, they were in the low 16s. Yep. Yeah, it's going to be slower. That's for sure. All right. After Bristol in the dirt, we get to the Easter holiday, and holiday sounds like a good time to go pour a refill, sir.
Okay.
And we're back. All right. Drinks are poured, and we're ready to keep diving in here. Race number 8, April 10th. Back-to-back short tracks. We go from dirt back to the paperclip at Martinsville. Nothing much to say other than, all right, as expected, Martinsville's going to get 2 races, right normally where we get the first one, and no gimmicks or anything like that. So, Martinsville's been delivering. I'm excited.
Yeah, nothing else to say beyond if y'all hadn't been yet, I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, see, man,
there's 3, and I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying because, that I haven't been to the Daytona 500.
Me
so
either.
that's in my bucket list, pretty close to the top.
Yep.
But that's only because I've already checked off Bristol, Martinsville, and Darlington.
Yes. Yeah. Well, see, Bristol and Martinsville were supposed to get checked off this year. Like, literally, I was going to the May 1st weekend this year to Martinsville. Like, it was ready to go. And then stuff happened.
Definitely stuff happened for sure.
Yes. And then after Martinsville, we stay short track. So 3 short tracks in a row. April 18th, Richmond. Richmond's been delivering a little bit. So cool. I'm all about it.
Yeah, that surface is finally starting to come back in.
Yep.
Which is it's a shame that's the way the asphalt cycles, and people that listen to PETM have heard me talk about the asphalt way too much, but it does matter. And asphalt lasts about 15 years, and if it takes 10 years to come in, that's kind of problematic.
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's my piece on it.
Then after 3 short tracks, April 25th, race number 10, we're back to the shit show that we had this past weekend at Talladega.
I don't know what else. I don't know what else you can call it at this point.
Right? That is legit what it was.
I will legit admit that going to it changed my perspective.
Sure.
Just because even the ones that we don't get to go to, you know what's going on in the infield, and you know what that experience is, so you can kind of draw upon that.
Yep.
But that's another one of those races where, like I was telling you in the pre-show, that I might have the race on and be listening to it. I probably won't listen to the scanner on that because the amount of traffic that goes over it is absurd.
Yes.
But I'm probably going to have Twitter up on my television and just have YouTube TV in the background, and I'll just flip-flop back and forth.
Sure.
But I'll hear everything that's going on, so I can stay up with whatever the Twitter conversation is. But I just don't have to watch them run that top-line train like they did in the second stage.
Yep. No, I'm with you. Then after Talladega, race number 11, we are headed to Kansas. I literally have nothing written down other than Kansas is race number 11.
Also another place that the asphalt has started to come in.
Yes. Kansas definitely coming in a lot better than Kentucky, and hence maybe why we don't have Kentucky on the schedule anymore.
Anybody that was surprised by that is only surprised by their heart being hurt, because that's the only track that they could get to every year.
And I can get behind that. I can get behind that. But from a business side of things, I totally get that. Race number 12, the first race at Darlington of the year. Just like Atlanta, I got to say Darlington deserved a second race, especially after the quality of racing we had going there a couple extra times this year. The Sunday, Wednesday race when we first came back, and then the Southern 500 here a couple weeks ago. Darlington is one of the drivers' favorite tracks, and it's obviously a fan favorite. It's great to watch on TV. It's great to watch in person. Darlington definitely deserved a second race.
Yeah, and they totally deserve the distinction, and no one's going to ever take it away from them. Darlington is a solidified crown jewel.
Yes.
100%. Like, it's not one of those ones where it's up for debate. You can decide what your 4 are. 2 of them are Darlington and the Southern 500.
Yep.
And the Daytona 500.
Yep.
And then a lot of people mix and match the other 2. Some say it's Talladega Spring. Some say it's, Indianapolis. Some say it's Bristol Night Race.
Coke 600.
But the one, you Coke 600.
Yep.
The ones you cannot leave off of your Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
Are Daytona 500 and the Southern 500.
I agree completely with you.
And to carry the theme that's been going so far, guess what the surface at Darlington has done?
Right. It's come in.
It's in, baby.
It's come in. That's getting a hashtag tonight. That's for sure. It's come in. Yes, it has. Yes, it has. All right. After Darlington, race number 13, we are headed to Dover. Concrete. That race has come in too, I think.
You know what? for as much as I love what that track is, the car has evolved to where it doesn't have the same luster that it used to.
Sure.
I think I didn't come along until it was already 400-mile races there. I know I've never seen a 500-mile race, and I've definitely never seen it when it was asphalt. But the writing was on the wall a long time ago when they started talking about Nashville. For those who don't know, the same company that owns Dover also owns Nashville and St. Louis, or they used to own St. Louis. Maybe it's just fairgrounds talk started, and about how difficult it was going to be to manage logistics around getting a race there because of its location in downtown and all the noise ordinance stuff. Well, Nashville Super Speedway is like 15 miles from Nashville. It's in the middle of not nowhere because it's still pretty close, but they don't have to fool with any of that noise ordinance. They were pretty much always running night races there anyway.
Sure.
So I'm not surprised by that. We probably didn't need 2 Dover races. Sorry to all our Delaware and Maryland and Eastern Pennsylvania friends, but I think you would, if you took a second to analyze it, you'd realize that that's probably true.
Sure. All right. Race number 14. I know you are very excited about this one. COTA, Circuit of the Americas. I had heard of this track, in conversations with people, but I really never dived into what this track really is. Sherwin, you're very excited about. What can the fans expect with this one?
I think it's going to race a lot like Sonoma. Sonoma was built to be an F1 track, as COTA has basically only been Moto and MotoGP. There's a tremendous amount of elevation change, like we see at Watkins Glen and Road of America and at Sonoma. So I think it's a similar size as Sonoma. So I would say look to Sonoma before we started running that inner loop. And what I'll say is I got a text from Rusty as soon as they announced it, and he goes, Austin 6th Street Country Music and racing?
And racing?
And I was like, just go ahead and book it, dude. Just book it. It's done. My only hope is that all the rumors are true now that Joe Rogan's been in Austin for a month now, that he is going to buy the Austin Comedy Club. Really? And turn that bad boy into what the LA Comedy Store is. Because Tom Segura is moving to Austin. I mean, Austin is going to be the new hotbed for stand-up comedy.
Oh, sweet.
While continuing to be the hotbed for Texas country.
Nice. I like that. That sounds pretty good. All right. After COTA, race number 15, it's the Martin Truex Jr. 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. All right, and after that,
saw it once, never see it, never need to see it again. The best race the weekend we went was the 4/10 dirt mile card that was on the Friday night.
That's funny.
They ran the 4/10s, the 360s, super lates, and there was one other series, another late model type series, and that's an eclectic crowd. It looked like we were at a motocross race.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, everybody had something kind of supercross, motocross type stuff on. I was like, oh, so I guess that makes sense. Sure. I mean, motocross and supercross is dirt racing, just two-wheel dirt racing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because I know we've both talked about in terms of race lengths. Hey, we're NASCAR fans. Give us what you got in terms of lengths. I think there needs to be the 600 just because we've had it for so long. I don't know, maybe if we did it at a different track, maybe. I know Charlotte's been, kind of grandfathered in with that just from a history perspective there. But with the new schedule, I wasn't sure if maybe we were going to get some shorter races out there. And as big of a swing as NASCAR did with the schedule, we didn't see any really changes as far as lengths of the races go.
I'm, for one, am glad for that.
Sure.
I don't like shorter races. And if you say, well, NASCAR's too reliable now, okay, open the motor. Whatever you want to do to it.
Yep.
It's 359 cubic inches. See what you can do with it. No boost, no boost. Whatever else you want to do it.
Yep.
Because, I think fans would be sort of intrigued by a couple, 2 or 3 cars get out to a big old lead and then blow a motor.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Next, we've got our first road course of the year, race 16. Our first road course. We go back west to Sonoma, sir. Yes, sir. I'm good. Give me road course racing.
Yeah, but it's got to be the high horsepower, low downforce. We saw what happens. The places that we predicted would be passing zones weren't, because the cars were all going the same speed.
Yep.
So there's not nearly as much opportunity for out braking, because you have to drag race into this braking zone to be able to do that.
Sure. Yep. All right. Next up, sir, is your favorite track. We go to the All-Star race at Texas Motor Speedway.
Well, I'm happy for them to get a race. One thing that you cannot fault Texas for is how many people show up.
Sure.
They sell out races at a 140,000 seat venue. So they were never going to disappear from the map. Adding COTA helps, but it's not the same thing. People think Texas, I know it's a big state, but Austin and Dallas got to be pretty close together. No, they're like 4 hours apart or whatever.
Yep. And you still haven't hit the outstretches of the entire state. Like, you can go from literally the border of Michigan to the tip of the mitten in about 4.5 hours, and that's coast to coast. Like, you haven't even covered all of Texas at 4.5 hours.
No, you haven't. From El Paso, Texas to Texarkana is 898 miles.
Wow, that's nuts. That's a lot of road. All right, next up, race number 17, June 20th. Our second of new tracks is Nashville Super Speedway. I know a lot of fans obviously wanted the fairgrounds. Who knows if that'll be in the works or something that might happen down the road, but we're going to Nashville Super Speedway. You knew they were going to go there with the banquet and the awards moving to Nashville, which is cool. You've got, Louisiana. You've got your Bourbon Street in Nashville, basically. They're trying to make that and build that up a little bit. So you just had to know they were going to go back, or they were going to go to Nashville.
They had to find a way to get to Nashville. This was their fastest path because they already had an owner involved in the sport. The thing is, NASCAR does not own Nashville Fairgrounds. State of Tennessee does, from what I understand. And that means that you don't have control over that venue at all.
Sure. Yep.
So I think this is the right idea to try to re-attract the country music crowd. I know a lot of us make fun of the kind of country music that's coming out of Nashville these days, but I'm anxious to see it. A little anecdotal piece here. Indy used to race there, and they had to stop because IndyCar technology got to the point where guys were almost passing out in the corners.
That's freaking nuts.
So
man.
It's a 1.3 mile D oval. So it's really similar shape to Kentucky, of all places. It's just shorter.
Yeah.
And it's banked a lot like Bristol. So you're
Chicago
just hauling balls
too, or no?
Yeah, but they got that curved backstretch too.
Okay.
So it's like an egg with a lump.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next up, our only double, race 18 and 19, Pocono Raceway. I expected after this year, with the Pocono double, Michigan, the doubles were a success. Granted, their fans weren't there, but things went well. But then once you kind of realize, well, wait, this track is probably going to get added. This is going to get added. The places where we were going to maybe be able to have scheduled doubles at next year, such as Michigan, Dover, and all that, kind of started fading away. So Pocono, again, the only scheduled double. Hopefully they get to celebrate right like they were supposed to this year.
Yeah, and what did we figure out? It's like 770 miles of cup racing or something.
It was nuts.
It was over 1,000 with the other companion races.
Mm-hmm.
well over 1,000 miles with the companion races because it was ARCA, Xfinity, and Cup.
And truck.
Was trucks there too?
Yeah, they were all there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah.
And it was set. I mean, NASCAR really knocked it out of the park with that, and then they didn't get to capitalize on it.
Yes. Yep. So yeah, I definitely hope they get to do that for sure. All right, next up, July 4th, Road America. I'm very excited about this road course racing on the 4th of July, baby.
Well, you got to know there was some branding associated there.
They're not stupid.
Right. Well, as much as we like to call the competition side stupid, which they're not either, by the way. They're all like super smart people.
Yes.
But yeah, going to Road America on America Day.
Right.
I mean, who doesn't want to be outside in the Wisconsin sun drinking cold beers with your shirt off?
Right. I mean, it's got success written all over it, man.
and it recaptures the Chicago market.
Yes. Yep.
It's only what 100 miles from Chicago.
Yeah, it's not far.
I mean, far. Atlanta's my home track, and it's now 280 miles from me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, and speaking of Atlanta, that is up next, race number 21, July 11th. I tell you what, to go back to Atlanta, like I said, I want to come back down to Atlanta. And the only thing that I think would have been better, and I think would have been cooler, personally, is if, and we talked about it a little bit ago, is if Atlanta had made its way into the playoffs, because I think Atlanta is a track that is playoff deserving in terms of what we can get maybe at a worn out 1.5 mile track with some cooler temps.
Yeah. And they really never raced at night except for one time when it was cold. They ran a race that started at dusk in October, I think 06. And it was frigid. I mean, it was cold. It didn't change the race though, because the surface is what makes that track. It doesn't have to be hot. It does change when it's hot.
Sure.
And if for it to already be scheduled on a Sunday suggests to me that's going to be a day race.
Oh, yep. Didn't realize that. Yep.
Yeah, because it's a Sunday.
Yep.
I mean, it is during holiday season, but for holidays in July is the week before.
Yep. Didn't pay attention to that. Yep.
No, and being that it's 10 days apart, and I didn't look at the calendar, but obviously the 4th of July is a Wednesday night,
something like that. Yep.
Yeah. So, I think that's probably going to be a day race.
Fair enough.
Night races at Atlanta are pretty sweet.
Good. Yes. All right. Next up, race 22, July 18th, New Hampshire. Okay, I'm good. I mean,
well, they already lost.
To say about that. They lost one, but New Hampshire's been all right as of late.
It has been better in the past. It has gone through a cycle of the car didn't fit the layout. It's 4 degrees in one corner, it's 7 in the other, or maybe it's 2 degrees and 7. I think it's 2 and 7, which means it was built for modifieds. No one built for NASCAR.
Yeah.
I mean, in reality, but and the cars being the way they run now, it's not put on the same kind of race that I had remembered Loudon as being, which is a place where people were all up in each other's business the whole race, even though it's a mile long. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad for them to get a race. We absolutely have to have a footprint in the Northeast.
Absolutely.
And there's not probably a nicer place to go than New Hampshire. I mean, you can stay on the beach and you're less than an hour from the track. You get your lobster and your racing.
There, right? I mean, you a couple weeks ago, you can get your cheese, your beer in Wisconsin, and then you just go over to the East Coast, you get your lobster and your race, and you are good to go, man.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we kind of stay in the East Coast as we go to upstate New York for Watkins Glen. Absolutely. All about it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, Watkins Glen ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
Nope.
They're selling out races there when you're like, what? We can't even sell out a race at Martinsville, but we're blowing Watkins Glen up.
Yep.
And there's a lot of that's another destination track. There's a ton of stuff to do there. You can stay on the Finger Lakes. They have wine country there, so you can even convince your spouse to go with you.
Yep.
Even if she doesn't like racing.
Yes, absolutely. All right, next up, and this one's interesting. Race number 24, August 15th, Indy, baby. But we're running the road course. Saw the success with the Xfinity Series, running it this year. We got 3 road courses in 5 races with back-to-back road courses. I'm just going to recap this. We're going to Road America, Atlanta, New Hampshire, Watkins Glen, and Indy in the span of basically 5 races.
So, yeah, fill it up.
Yeah, right. Okay. Tempt me with a good time. Why don't you?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we already talked about the business side of it playing a role. And, I'd like to see – well, I'd love to see Road America be on the schedule permanent. We know something at Indy is going to be on the schedule permanent. So I don't know which one of those road tracks you rotate, but I'd like to see one of them rotate, you probably can't do it every year. You probably need to have a 2 or 3 year contract in place.
Yeah.
Especially with COTA, since NASCAR doesn't own any piece of that as far as I'm aware. But I'd like to see Road Atlanta get a shot at it. I don't know if VIR is an option with their current configuration for safety, but we could take the Cup cars to Mid-Ohio.
Sure. Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
And I can already hear your listeners saying, what about Canadian Motorsport? I'm like, well, there's a lot of problems with that.
Right now, there's no travel to Canada. So
well, it's not just that. Even there's a reason why we don't go to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and that we don't go to Motorsport. And it's because just getting the visas to be there is an extremely taxing process for teams. It's expensive.
Yep.
I mean, for a truck team to go up there, it's like you're just signing up to lose money. Even the teams that are able to operate in a business model where they actually run it like a business that makes money, you've already spent all that money just on visas.
Yep. No, I'm with you.
I mean, you're coming home empty-handed, even if you win the damn thing,
Yes.
except for the trophy.
Yes. Now let's talk about this. We talked a little bit ago about the crown jewels, if you will. A lot of people, I would think, especially the traditional and old school NASCAR fan, would have included the Brickyard as one of those crown jewels. Obviously, what Indy was doing from a fan drawing perspective wasn't working as of late. So barring that we get to bring fans into the track next year, do we lose anything? Is NASCAR losing history not running the traditional Brickyard 400?
No, I don't think so, because by running the road course, you're eliminating some of the parts of the track that make Indy challenging as a fan.
Right. The pagoda is a small visual issue there, right?
And that there's a pretty decent sized grandstand right next to it.
Yep.
On the inside there. And so those, you really, obviously those will be closed because they're facing the wrong damn way.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I don't know if they've settled on a configuration yet. I don't know if we're going to run the Indy configuration, and I don't know how much, I can't remember how much of the rectangle that actually uses. I don't think it uses very much, if I recall, but maybe I'm completely wrong in picturing another place. But, and think about this, Loudon has a road course.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those, it's one that goes inside the track and then it goes outside the track.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
And so what I would encourage, having been now to 2 Talladega races on the infield and 1 Indianapolis 500 on the infield, is every other year that you don't go to those places, you can watch it on television. You get the same experience everybody else gets on television. You cannot describe the experience you have on the infield because it's yours.
Yes, it is unique.
Everybody's getting the same TV experience. You get to decide where you're at, where you walk around to,
Yep.
which crowd you think is so fun. You just go, I'm going to hang out here for a minute because these people are fun. And if you go with somebody that goes every year like I did, you're bound to run into some of his buddies
Sure.
that are cutting up, and you never know what you're going to see. And, NASCAR fans think IndyCar fans don't get after it. It's kind of a little bit more of a prim and proper, like somewhere halfway in between NASCAR and F1, which is true. That's the way they behave themselves. They have podiums and all that stuff. But I tell you what, on the infield at the Indianapolis 500, I've heard cool things about the Preakness. I can't imagine the Preakness has anything
to compete.
There's 40,000 fans in the Snake Pit listening to an EDM DJ. They don't even know a race is going on, and they can't even hear it.
That's nuts, man.
And you just kind of look down in there and go, nobody in there even knows that there's a race happening.
Right.
They just know that when the Indianapolis 500 hits,
it's time to party.
They're going to get to see their favorite EDM DJ.
Yeah. Yep.
And the hell with the race cars.
Nuts.
That's a spectacle all its own. Just watching people don't give a damn about racing, but they bought $100 ticket to get in the infield.
Hey, it's got its
wanted to go to the
Twitter
concert
handle. They're doing something right.
And it's BYOB. So who doesn't want to go to a BYOB concert?
Right.
I mean, you're asking for a little bit of trouble there, but
yeah. Smidge. Yep. All right. Next up, race number 25, my home track of Michigan International Speedway, which props to Firekeepers Casino, who just extended through 2023 with MIS, which is awesome because I love the relationship that I've developed with both. So I'm pretty excited about that. However, I am bummed, obviously, like we talked about, from a Dover, I'm bummed from the heart that Michigan lost a race, but I understand from the business perspective why Michigan lost a race. Atlanta, Darlington, some of the new tracks, people just weren't going to make the cut. So I'm happy that we got one race. I like the fact that it's the second to last race of the regular season. I think that's a little added twist, which is pretty cool. So I'm happy.
Cool. Well, I'm glad for you to keep a race as well. I hate it for you to lose one because I know what that feels like. You get used to doing that twice a year, especially you, because for us, for several years, it was, we go in the spring and freeze our stones off, and then we show back up for Halloween weekend and freeze our what's off. But it's a great time, That's when fires are appropriate. They're not appropriate in August or July. NASCAR fans need to learn that. Just because you can burn things doesn't mean you should.
Oh, that's great.
But I'm happy. Look, I'll just be as selfish as I could possibly be. Because of you, I have a 2 degrees of freedom relationship with Michigan. Yes. And have gotten to see some really neat stuff there as a result. And so I'm happy for you to have it because that also means that there's an opportunity for me to do some of those things too.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, it's nice that, you guys have come up to Michigan and that they've, opened their arms to you and vice versa. When Atlanta opened their arms up to me when I came down there. So, that's the great thing about doing all this is just the networking and the outreach that there has been in the support, which is I can't even measure it. It is unmeasurable.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, but there is no greater compliment that you can receive as a hobby caster.
Absolutely.
Than to have the voice of NASCAR tell you he's proud that you are providing content in this space because it shows a commitment to fandom and a true love for the sport, which is needed.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so
we'll raise our glasses to Jeff Striegel.
Yeah, that's a goosebumps kind of moment.
Absolutely.
when you hear somebody say that.
Yep, I am with you 100%. All right, race number 26 to close out the regular season. Daytona International Speedway. I had strong comments on this going into this last year. Jeff Striegel actually changed my perspective on that when I talked to him last year. My thing initially was, I don't like a wild card race such as plate racing, determining a playoff potential and ruining someone's career, season. To which Jeff Striegel said, "Well, then don't let that be what it comes down to." And that really changed my perspective on how I view the final race of the year now. So you know what? Go ahead, have at it. Let that be it. I that 100% did a 180 for me the way Jeff Striegel positioned that.
Well, let's use a football analogy.
I'm all about it.
And I'm stealing this from Jeff because he used it on our show because he hammered home this point. He said the Daytona 500 pays the same amount of points as every other race on the schedule.
Sure.
Who gives a damn which race it is?
Yep.
So the second race, you could apply that same theory to. But what he said was, and he used the teams that he likes, so just bear with me on that. And us, he brought us in. He said, "What if Georgia Tech's ranked number 1 and Michigan State's ranked number 2, and somehow they had partnered to play a home and home?"
Sure.
And it was going to be the second game of the season. He said, "You know what'll happen is they'll both come into that game 1-0, and everybody will go, 'Damn, I wish this was the last game of the season.'" And he said, "But if it was the last game of the season and you get down to it and you lose that game, you're like, well, shit, we should have played this earlier on."
Yep.
And so that's when I started to really come around to his concept of anybody that's whining about a Yahtzee game determining who's going to get the final spots in the playoffs didn't prepare the first 25 races.
Yep. 100%. Yep.
If come into it knowing I really want to win this race, I really don't want to tear this car up. Guess what? There's no more plate races this year, so we don't have to build one of these things until we start prepping for Daytona. It's not like we're going to. Well, I guess that's not entirely true because they probably run a similar chassis at Talladega. So that was okay. Strike that from the record.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I guess I'm at the point where I don't care either. Because if I'm on pins and needles and pissed off because my guy gets wrecked at Daytona and doesn't make the playoffs,
he wasn't winning the championship anyways.
Not likely.
Yeah.
We have exactly one example of somebody who kind of slithered their way through the cracks with Newman.
Yep. 2014.
And he came as close as you can come.
Yes. Yep.
In a winner-take-all situation like we have.
Yep.
A guaranteed Game 7 is what we have.
Yeah.
So hell, make Daytona. I mean, people are going to do some dumb stuff if they have to get in.
Yes.
They're going to run some people over. I mean, we already know we're going to tear up at least 18 cars when we go to plate races.
Right.
I mean, not tear them up. There's going to be 35 cars with damage. There's going to be 18 cars that are going to go to Dale Jr. They're going to go to Dale Jr.'s graveyard.
Yep. It's becoming an inevitability. Yes, sir. All right. Well, we are officially made our way to the playoffs. Yes, I just said it.
The playoffs? Where's Jim Moore at when you need him?
Dude, it's already dropped in, man. It's already been in.
Playoffs?
Yes.
Oh.
Rather unchanged to playoffs. So we can go through this a little quickly here if you want. Round 1. Darlington, Richmond, and the Bristol night race. I love that Bristol, the night race, has moved into the playoffs. I think that's fantastic. I love the round 1, the shorter track races. I'm all about that.
Yeah, you almost don't want them to blow their entire, betting kitty in the first stage, but then you can turn around and make the same argument why you should.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, and that is NASCAR tradition all the way. I mean, they should just call the first, the first bracket. What do we call it? First round.
The round of 16.
Call that, the round of NASCAR tradition right here.
Right.
Darlington, Bristol, Richmond.
Oh, that you remember when they named the rounds like that was the Challenger and all that? Like that would be great. The tradition
and they didn't ask
round.
anybody. Yeah, somebody asked their 7-year-old kid
to come up with
what to name those things.
Yes.
And that's an example of why we make fun of NASCAR a little bit. A whole bunch of really smart people got in a room and they acted like 5-year-olds.
And they spent a lot of money on that, and that's the best. And then the next year, it was just like gone. Like no one said, "Hey, it was just like, what are you talking? We never named the rounds. What are you talking about? That never happened." Like they just tried to brush that under the rug, like it was non-existent.
Yeah, that's like getting your first spot at a major comedy club and just bombing.
Yes.
And you just shut it down immediately.
Yes. All right. Round of 2, Las Vegas, Talladega, and Charlotte. I will say, to something that was very similar to my thought process a couple years ago, I didn't like a plate race in the playoffs because, again, to the same point that I had with ending Daytona. Credit Jeff Striegel for kind of changing that a little bit. I do like the fact that Talladega is round 2. I think if it was round 3, I think that would be pushing it a little bit. But I like that it's round 2, and I like that it's the middle of round 2 so that you still have a chance to maybe go and redeem yourself at nothing more perfect than the Roval. I think round 2 is the round that needed some work. It's got some work, and I think it's flawless right now.
Yeah, so I was just already writing in my head what I would start to name these things, and it comes out as you start to talk. So I would call, NASCAR playoffs round 1, steeped in tradition, and then round 2, chaos.
I love it. I love it.
And then we'll get to 3, and maybe I can come up with something else.
Perfect. Yes. The Roval, man. It's where we're headed this week. So let's maybe do a little untraditional thing here. Who did you? We'll break with momentum here a minute. Who did you guys pick for this weekend at the Roval?
Why do you ask such hard questions? No, I'm kidding. I actually did remember this. Rusty picked Truex and I picked Blaney.
Nice. Okay. Because I suck so much at my own fantasy league and didn't make the playoffs, so it didn't really matter who I picked. So with the news breaking on Tuesday, I said, screw it. Let's go with Jimmy Johnson to get the win.
Well, he was all up in it in the first one.
He was. Yes, he was. All right. The round of 3. Texas, Kansas, Martinsville. If anything was now maybe going to, I think round 1, perfect. Round 2 is perfect. This is the round where I say, you know what, man, I think Atlanta would be real nice in here, either with to switch out Texas or Kansas for one of those two, because Martinsville definitely needs to be in there. But man, I think Atlanta would be perfect for round 3.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say no.
Right. Let me go email someone. I'll get back to you.
Right. I mean, that's the first call they got. It said, you're getting a second race. The first question was, are we in the playoffs?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's just the way it's going to go.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Texas, man, that track sucks. But like I said, people go.
Yes. Yeah.
2.5 in the same round.
Yep.
That just kind of.
Yeah. I say. Yeah. That's. Yep. I feel you.
Yeah. With all the things we have to pick from and the order we can put them in, just feels like that's a little bit of a miss.
Well, I think it's a miss because it's a miss because if you're Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, there's the 7 or 8 that if you get past round 2, round 3 is almost a home run for you. So that's where I think it's a miss, where it's not enough as a challenge for our top guard, if you will. Well,
that's an interesting perspective to look at it. I mean, this year is certainly an example of that. And I mean, if you said 1.5 race car driver in Cup right now, maybe use a 3-year window as perspective, who are the guys of the 8 that will be in that round and that's their bread and butter. I mean, so to speak. Not the only thing they're any good at, but who you just said, Brad, Kevin, Joey,
Denny.
Truex.
You know, that's yeah.
So you've already got 5 of the 8 that are the best at that kind of track.
Yep.
Right there. So I don't know. So I guess maybe that's a little bit of a counter argument to what you're saying in that.
Yeah.
There's only 8 guys and only 4 can advance, and 5 of those guys are probably what we would consider the best mile-and-a-half racers in the sport right now.
Fair. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. That's
so there'll be some competition in the top 7 or 8.
Yes.
But
yeah. That's
the
true.
rest of the field is just going to be the only people that are going to get talked about are the guys that are in 7th and 8th.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Yep. Our bubble.
Yeah.
All right. November 7th, we wrap it up. Back-to-back championship weekends now for Phoenix this year, Phoenix next year. We don't know what this will provide. We'll find out here in a couple weeks. We talked about it, that Phoenix has got it for a couple years here. Would you like to see a rotation? Would you like to see Phoenix keep it? Maybe, it's hard to say until we know what we're going to get here in a couple weeks.
Well, I think we probably are going to have to suspend this conversation all the way up until we see that short track stretch with the 2022 car.
Yep.
As to whether or not I think rotating it is a good idea. Logistically, obviously, it's a challenge, but and I'm not trying to. Purists will say, "Well, Phoenix is not a short track." Yeah, but
it's close
a lot
enough.
of time. In today's car, those chassis transfer.
Yeah.
Like what you run at Loudon and maybe even Martinsville, you might run at Phoenix.
Yep.
Whereas like Richmond, for instance, a lot of those guys will run a 1.5 mile chassis at Richmond.
Sure. Because
it's banked just enough and it's fast enough. Aerodynamics come into play there for sure. But yeah, I guess I like to see it rotate. I understand the challenges like we talked about. I think you're going to have to do 2 or 3 year lumpings
to get a sample size that you can.
But we're going to have to see what the 22 car brings. Not Joey, but
right.
the NASCAR spec car.
Yes.
Because we've heard people talk about how, one of the things that's going to suck about 2022 is teams are going to slash their staffs. Because we're going to have universal chassis and we're going to have universal bodies. So being like a body fabricator is a thing of the past in Cup once we get to 2022. Because it's going to be just like Xfinity.
Yep.
Which is going to be, in some ways, it's going to be fun because the guys that like to run the fence, they're going to be able to do it and not have to like really tiptoe on glass. They're like, well, if I hit it a little bit, it's probably not going to matter.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just going to bounce back out. And when I mean a little bit, I'm talking about kissing the wall.
Right.
Whereas now, if you kiss the wall with the right rear, you can kiss your race goodbye.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't know. I say switch it up every 3 years.
I can get behind that. All right. That has done it for the schedule there. Couple quick notes, and we'll give a final thought here, and then we'll get Aaron on. Chicago, we obviously lose, which I'm bummed to see that because I got to Chicago last year. It was great. Had a great time. Racing's developed over the last few years. They've put on some of the best 1.5 mile racing. So I am sad to see them go again. Business things. I get that. Kentucky, not surprised there. I'm curious to see what the truck and Xfinity schedules are. I'm curious to see Iowa. I'm curious to see where it and if they fall into place anywhere next year. I hope to see Eldora back on the track, next year with things back to normal. I like 6 road courses. I like the addition of the new courses and races that we added with Nashville and COTA. I'm excited. There's not a whole lot I would change because they swung for the fences. So we need to see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is I would have liked to see them carry over a summer stretch that included 2 races in a 7-day period.
Yes, that's true. We did not get our midweek race here or anything like that.
I still think that's a good idea, even though I know the TV numbers did not reflect that as much as they thought it might, although they were still damn decent numbers for people who are generally finding something else to do.
Yes.
But they also might be skewed a little bit because nobody else was playing sports at the time.
Yep.
So there's that. But if all you care about is baseball, football, and basketball, you weren't going to tune into a NASCAR just because it was a live sporting event. Golf still crushed, so good for them.
Yeah.
But
Yep. Alrighty, sir. What do you say we get Mr. Aaron Studwell on the line?
why not?
All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining Mr. Andrew Sherwin and I on the line right now is Mr. Aaron Studwell. Sir, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Great. We've been getting deep into some NASCAR stuff for the last hour and 25 minutes. Welcome to the show. A little later than expected, but good evening nonetheless.
All good. I've been beveraging. Have you been beveraging while you've been recording?
You don't need to ask us that question.
No, I'm just making chit chat. Come on.
Have we? We've been pausing to get refills. That's what we've been doing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You just
man.
have to drop the ice sound effect in there, too, so
Right?
then you're all good.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I
That
mean,
sounds so natural.
in honor of PETM, what are you drinking on?
I'm actually, surprisingly, and it's good, an East End blood orange cider.
Sure. All
That
right.
does sound good.
Cool.
Yeah, and there's a local place here that it's actually a grocery store, but you can make your own 6-packs.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, so it's a nice selection. So just something a little different.
Very cool. Very cool. Sure. What are you still drinking on over there?
I got Maker's Mark and Coke Zero, but I'm never very far away from Fireball.
It sounds like it might be close to that time. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm fixing to be out. Actually, I'm fixing to take my last sip of it, and then there's no more Fireball in the house, and I am not in a condition to go get more, which is a good thing.
That's almost a national emergency right there. You're at a Fireball.
Well, I could walk to the ABC store from here, but in North Carolina, they close liquor stores at 9:00.
Oh, yep. You are.
Oh, wow.
You are out.
I'm officially out of Fireball right now.
Yes. Until what time do they open up in the morning?
Well, I have to work, so
Right.
it'll be about 6.
I don't understand your point. What do you mean?
Oh, that's funny. All right, Aaron, let's do this. We've obviously been talking about the schedule. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you to pinpoint predict the weather for Phoenix on March 14th, although we probably know what it's going to be. So we'll just pick a couple spots, maybe some new tracks and some new locations for some races. And you can just give some general trends, I think would be pretty cool. So let's start with our West Coast swing. We got Atlanta, Las Vegas, Phoenix, late February, early March. No real change there, but what's the typical West Coast weather like that time of year?
We're going to go to Auto Club first, right at the end of February. We're right before the reconfiguration, and that just kind of seems like a bit of an understatement, the reconfiguration there. Normal temperatures, 68 over 47. February is the wettest month of the year, and you're going to detect a trend going with all this too.
Las Vegas, March 7th. I'm going to guess 75 and sunny.
March is the second wettest month of the year for Vegas, but that's a very relative statement. Normal high for that date is 70 with a morning low of 46.
Desert.
Desert, yeah, right. Desert, yeah. That's big swings, right? Big swings.
Yes, it's a dry coolness.
Yeah, right. It's a dry heat. It's a dry cool. That needs to be on a T-shirt with race weather logo. It's a dry coolness.
I'll fire that press up, and Christmas is coming.
I tell you,
they make great stocking stuffers.
Sherwin and I came up with some names for the rounds of the playoffs. Like that stuff might be going on a T-shirt, might be getting trademarked. That's all I'm saying.
I'm looking forward to that, and I'm you know what, bracket that up, make it a Sweet 16 format.
Yeah, Sherwin, you didn't give me a round 3 name though. What did you come up? You got to come up with a round 3 name.
I do, but I don't have one.
All right.
I'd rather sit on it than tell a bad joke.
Fair enough. I'm all about that. All right, Aaron. May 23rd, our first new track of the schedule, Circuit of the Americas. How is Austin from a weather perspective in mid-May?
The normal high is 88. The normal low is 68. The monthly rainfall is about 4.4 inches. And again, this is the wettest month of the year in Austin. That being said, they will race in the rain, but beware the lightning clock.
It sounds like rain and it's coming in are the themes of the night now.
Yes. Yeah, and wet tracks and elevation change in NASCAR get a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
That is a major elevation. We'll talk about that after.
June 20th, Nashville Superspeedway for the debut of NASCAR there. What do we got going on there?
A normal high 87, normal low 67. It's kind of middle of the road for rainfall for the average for the whole year. So, yeah, kind of the afternoon showers, pop-up thunderstorms. So we'll just be, I say it now, we'll be keeping an eye on it like it's this upcoming weekend, but we'll be keeping an eye on that too.
Excellent. Yes. Let's see here. After that, we've got Road America for some good old America 4th of July stuff.
Fire up the brats. We're going to Wisconsin.
Yes.
Normal high is 82. Normal low is 61. It is the second wettest month of the year.
Oh, wow. Someone think they should have consulted maybe you and Brian Newdorf, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, did somebody look at this and like either read the tables wrong or not care?
Oh, wow. That's crazy. And then let's see. We've got Atlanta twice this year in some different spots. We've got Darlington. What are we looking at there?
I want to do the Atlanta one first. July 11th, normal high 89, normal low 71. So that is almost the hottest day of the year. In July is the wettest month of the year.
Wow.
I can attest to this.
Yes, I know you.
I wonder when I send this tweet out and I tag you in it and I put 2021 forecast, if I use the hashtag moist, what people would say.
Oh, and people just love
that word. I know they do. I know that they do.
So let me interject here real quick. Just tell another anecdotal story. Just a couple weeks ago, I was with Cone at the same bar that I met Shannon at, and the bartender server overheard me say Sydney's name.
Okay.
And I think anybody that's paying attention to Twitter stuff with us and Sydney knows she hates that word.
Yes. Yes.
So I said it, and the bartender was like, I guess she had occasion to work a bar where Sydney was playing a set, and they got to know each other. And because she like snapped at me, she goes, "Did you say Sydney Lett?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So then like 5 minutes later, she comes back with her phone, and she's FaceTiming with Sydney Lett.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we had just gone through the whole conversation about moist. I had said the word inadvertently based on the conversation that we were having, and of course everybody giggled like we're all 16 again, and because we are.
Sure.
And so I said it to her over FaceTime. She's like, "Oh my God." It was just kind of a funny moment. like a bartender I've never met in my life, never seen anymore, heard me say a name. She knew the person. She FaceTimed her, hands me her phone, and says, "Hey, why don't you say hey to Sydney?"
That's fantastic.
That's amazing.
That's great. I love that kind of stuff. That's fantastic. All right, Aaron, how's the Darlington race looking?
May 9th, average high is 82. The average low is 56, which is actually a little surprisingly cool. And we're going to break the trend here. May in Darlington is actually one of the drier months of the year.
Ooh, all right.
Weekend
so what I
off.
hear is rain at Darlington.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. All right. Anything else you want to highlight here, sir? How's any update to the torrential inches of rain getting this weekend at the Roval?
Still on track. Hurricane Delta's forecast to make landfall tomorrow night. Poor Cameron in Lake Charles, Louisiana. They're going to get nailed again. Last I saw, Cameron still had about 25% of its power out across the parish. And then that's going to bring rain up, higher chance of rain than a couple days ago for Saturday and into Sunday. And just this morning, I've added risk of thunderstorms on both days. So I know. New Dorp and I will be on the clock, and I'll be texting my business contacts as well. So there we go.
You guys have had it easy the last couple weeks, so it's time to get back to work. Apparently,
I know. I'm demoing some lightning software, so I can put the radius rings on and have it even a little bit before NASCAR has it. Nice. And I got to log in today. Yeah, but I was locked out because I hadn't used it in so long.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, can I have my access back for 1 week, and then we'll talk about my buying this? There
you go. Nice. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap with this. We've got a new schedule. Let's assume and have some hope that fans and all that and media and all that is somewhat back to normal next year. Sherwin, let's start with you. Give me your 3, 4, what are the must races that we are going to find Sherwin in the PETM podcast at next year?
You mean outside of the ones that we would go to anyway?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can throw Bristol and Darlington and Atlanta in the
right
category.
Yes.
So for me, number one is Austin. And I know because I had just as much energy around it as Rusty did, as I spoke to earlier in the show. He's like, Austin country music and racing on a road course. And I was like, book it, we're going. And then for me, I've always wanted to go to Road America.
Wow. Hey, we can pick up in Chicago and drive the rest of the way up.
Well, and I've already been back and forth with Brett about going to the Cup Indy Double on the road course. So
excellent.
Those are probably the three that I'd never seen before that might hop on the schedule.
Excellent. Studwell, what about you?
I want to go with Sherwin and Circuit of the Americas. I've been there for Formula One. I've been there for Rallycross. It is an amazing facility. It is beautiful. It is convenient. It is great. I've been in there in the mud. I've been in there in the rain. I've been there on sunny days. It is the premier. If you think Formula One venue and just the level of services and the level of everything you get there, Circuit of the Americas, and the racing is going to be phenomenal. The Indy road course is definitely on the list. That'd be a nice birthday present to myself, throwing it right in there, and then maybe even have the road to MIS. And then Darlington in May. I've been to Darlington before, and I'm not going to exclude ones I've been to before, but Darlington in May. I just love that track. I love going there, and the chance to go back for a different time of year would be nice.
Excellent. No, I'm with you there. Obviously for me, my is obviously Michigan. It would have been Chicago. I think Atlanta needs to happen again. I'd love to get back to Darlington again, but I mean, if I had to pick the one, for me, I've been to Nashville once for work, and we partied when we went to Nashville. I think that's something I could even drag Lindsay to and make a little thing out of it. There's talk at work of being able to roll over some extra time off to where Brandon might have 30 days off next year to play with from a time off perspective. Brandon's going to some races next year, fan permitted, media permitted. So, and I'm used to going to Michigan in June around that time, and there's no MIS June date. So to me, that Nashville race is looking pretty tempting to be able to say I went to the, a new one like that. That's up there. Bristol, Martinsville are obviously on that list. And, you're going to see lap traffic around the schedule next year. Let's just say that.
I really hope that's a true statement because I just want to get back to the track.
Yes. PET has some tweet ups need to happen. Like, I miss me a tweet up.
Yeah, I think we've missed, it's made it doing what we do a little bit more challenging because, you can go put your hands right on somebody at a tweet up.
Yep.
And ask them for, an opportunity to speak with them and record it.
Yep.
And it's hard for them to say no. Not that you would ambush anybody, but
but once they meet you,
it plants the seed. I mean, we had to meet Ross Chastain 6 times before I finally got him on the show, but
right,
we figured it out.
Yes.
But if we hadn't have met him 6 different times, well, I probably never would have got him.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm with you.
7 times the charm, and you build those relationships and you build that trust.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, hang on the line a minute. I am ready to wrap. Let's see here. Sherwin, what do you guys got going on next week, and where can everybody follow you?
You can follow us at PETM Podcast. You can follow Rusty at Tailgate Mayor. You can follow me at Pregame Engineer. Next week, we have Kate Ertman. I have not totally figured out exactly what her involvement in the sport is, but she's a nerd like we are. So I already got the warning of, hey, I'm not like every other NASCAR fan. I'm like, yeah, neither are we.
Excellent. Excellent. I love that. Aaron, where can everybody keep up with race weather and all that good stuff?
And that'd be at raceweather on Twitter and then raceweather.net on the web.
Excellent.
And if you like a little bit of different science, at EXO Consulting, EXO Consulting, and give us a follow over there and see what we're doing.
Excellent. Love it. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 204 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. A very fun bonus episode, I might add. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, Twitter and Instagram at LapTrafficPC. Huge thanks to Sherwin from PETM and Aaron Studwell for calling in tonight. I'm working on somebody for next week. I don't have anybody to plug, but I'm sure I'll find somebody. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!